but confirming that House Democrats have learned nothing after getting shellacked in November 5th election. They're going full steam ahead for biological men to use women's restrooms. But Congresswoman Nancy Mace is trying to put a stop to it. She introduced a new resolution requiring members and staffers to use the bathroom that corresponds with his or her biological sex. I can't believe this even has to be a thing. But the move comes as the first trans member of Congress, Sarah McBride, is set to take office.
Bullying a member of Congress. This is what we're doing? This is the lesson that you've drawn from the election in November? This is your priority, that you want to bully a member of Congress as opposed to welcoming her to join this body?
Of course, as always, legacy media helps Democrats frame the issue as the nice people versus the mean people.
Speaker Johnson has said he wants to treat every new member with the words dignity and respect. Forcing this congressperson to go into a male restroom, is that dignity and respect?
Forcing women to share private spaces with men is not dignity and not respect.
And joining me now, South Carolina Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Congresswoman, great to see you. So as far as dignity and respect go, I'm wondering, Congresswoman, how have you been treated after introducing this resolution?
A very interesting question. So the height of hypocrisy, the height of gaslighting, they're threatening to kill me now because I, as a woman, am standing up to protect other women from men being in our private spaces, our restrooms, bathrooms, locker rooms, changing rooms, you name it. And so now they're threatening to kill me over this. I'm being bullied online. But what they forget is that, Laura, I'm the first woman to graduate from the Citadel, the Military College of South Carolina. I will not be bullied into silence. I will not back down.
I am an 18-year-old high school student and wanted to take this time to bring to your attention the current issue with biological men claiming they are women and in turn truly believing that they are entitled to use women's spaces. There was an incident within our district that occurred recently regarding a transgender woman who really is a biological man having an altercation with a young woman at MLK High School. It was infuriating when I had seen the video on social media, but what was detrimental to this is the fact that this man is and has been using the women's restroom and locker room. Firstly, the question we must address is why are we affirming the mental confusion of this boy and putting the safety of women in jeopardy by allowing mentally confused men to use the women's spaces? Of course, any male who claims he is a woman will accept it. But what about the women? What about the true girls like myself who are female down to our DNA? Why don't we ever get a say in whether or not we are comfortable with this? The truth is, we aren't.
3 times in the past 24 hours at restaurants.
Oh no, not that.
I have been misgendered 3 times in the past 24 hours at restaurants.
Oh no, not that. I seriously can't imagine that a person wouldn't get it right the first time.
I was at Benihana with my girlfriend and the server said, "What about you, sir? What would you like to eat?"
Yeah, people usually address others based on their outward physical appearance and their characteristics and the sound of their voice, but go on.
My girlfriend, God bless her heart, steps in, says, "Actually, that's ma'am." And she looks at my girlfriend and didn't really understand what had happened and said, "No, I'm talking to him," pointing at me.
But were they wrong?
Our jaws were on the floor and we decided to leave because it was just a bad vibe after that.
Why? Because they can see the forest for the trees?
I was at another restaurant for lunch and they showed me my seat and said, "Here you go, sir." And I said, "I am not a sir."
Sure.
And then I left because I wasn't comfortable anymore.
I'm sure I can think of 1 or 2 things that makes a lot of people rather uncomfortable, but they put up with it anyway.
And I went to a new restaurant and I asked, before I sit down, where's the bathroom, please? And they said, "Oh, it's right this way, sir." We don't need to use words like sir or ma'am.
Of course not. What are the alternatives?
There are ways to be respectful without using those words. And if you get it wrong for someone like me, I will probably leave the restaurant. And it puts like a bad vibe on my day when it happens, especially when it happens 3 times in a row.
Well, honestly, that seems to be the majority of a certain individual's content is reacting to getting misgendered. So if it didn't happen, whatever would one talk about?
I was just in the women's room at a cheesecake factory. And when I walked in, there was this little girl, like 3 years old, tops. She was standing there alone, I assumed waiting for her parent who was in the stall. And all the stalls were full. So like I couldn't go in, I just had to wait. And it was me and this little girl and no one else. And she kind of looked at me like, And, I just like nodded my head and didn't look at her. I was like, it's kind of awkward. And it occurred to me that when the parent, who I don't know, leaves the stall, exits their stall, and sees me, a trans person, and their little 3-year-old daughter, that they might make an assumption based on untrue things that they've heard. An assumption that could be very dangerous for me, unsafe for me. So instead of waiting for that to potentially happen, I left the bathroom and decided I didn't need to pee that bad. Trans people go through this thought process any time they're in a bathroom. And it's not okay. And it's important to talk about because it happens all the time. I was just in...
Oh my God, the what about me-ism here is just fucking undoable. It's just... And this is why we need a mandated law at the federal level so that we can send a clear message across the board for weirdos and creeps like this not to be in women's bathrooms with little girls, minor girls, and just women, period. You should have went. The reason that there might have been an issue when the parent came out of the stall is because she likely would have realized that your grown ass as a man should probably have not been in there, standing there with their 3-year-old daughter, because, oh my God, I can imagine the horror that parent might feel coming outside and seeing your weird ass standing there in all of your manhood. So yes, I can imagine that there would have been a problem if that parent came out and saw you standing there looking like a freak of nature. Yo, I told y'all, I am so glad that there's an initiative out there right now so that we can clear all of this bullshit up and get back to the basics. There's two genders in this world, man and woman. I don't care how y'all feel about it. I'm never going to change my opinion on it, and I don't care what you call it. You can call it hate, you can call it phobia, you can call it all of the little bait names that you little weird people try to jump in the comments and use. I don't care. I leave the comments open for you fucking weirdos, so you can come and all gather in one place and I can cuss you all out at the same fucking time because I don't give a fuck. Anyway, y'all drop a comment down below if you feel so inclined, but you don't really have to. This case really speaks for itself. I'm glad that he did decide to leave the bathroom where he was standing in because he had no business being in there in the first damn place. Anyway, yeah, I'll see you all in the next video. Later, y'all.